All right, my friends, welcome back to another V-Rising video. This one is going to be going over coatings, explaining what they are, how to get them, why they're so strong, and how to take advantage of them in your build. So to start off, let's go over where we get our coatings. So we unlock them through one of the new Oakvale bosses, Stavros the Carver. He's looking horrifying because he is. Very fun and difficult boss fight. I actually really enjoyed this one. And once you kill him, he's right over here in Oakvale at the Carver's logging outpost. Once you kill him, you unlock the ability to craft weapon coatings at the alchemy table. Right here for the low price, arguably, of 16 corrupted flowers and 16 venom sap. So you can see the venom sap right here at the Carver's logging outpost. You can also get it by refining corrupted oak. And you can see corrupted flowers here at the venom mixing outpost. But those things are kind of strewn all over the place throughout Oakvale. Okay, once you have these, it is time to decide which coatings you would like to use. How you decide, I'll explain that in this video, but first and foremost, there are certain things that are in general important to know about coatings. Just doesn't matter what coating you pick, they're very important to know. First things first, every one of these coatings deals bonus magic damage, regardless of which one you pick, which means that spell power builds, like Draculan Scholar, want to use coatings on their weapons even more than physical builds do, because it actually makes their weapons that much more potent. So normally, or beforehand, weapons on Scholar stuff was kind of just like kind of a joke in how much damage it could do at sometimes. But now with these coatings, it actually makes it so our weapons, or at least our auto attacks or our primary attacks, are much more potent. Next thing to note is that regardless of what type you pick, you want to use at least 2 weapons with these coatings, and that is because the way the cooldown functions. So right here, I'll attack this enemy here. You can see I attacked it with this, and I got a 12-second cooldown on my coating. So after 12 seconds, ticks by, it's going to go ahead and charge up again, and right there, we can use it again. Here's the thing. If you swap to another weapon with a coating on it, that one will have a 6-second cooldown. So there's a 6-second global cooldown and a 12-second individual cooldown for that specific weapon. You can have the same weapon coating or the coating type on 2 different weapons. It could both be blood if you want it to be. That's not a big deal as long as you have it on 2 weapons. So regardless of what you pick, I highly recommend you run at least 2 weapons. Next important thing here, just in general to keep in mind, if you're running a bunch of weapons, you don't necessarily have to put them on every single weapon. Just think about which weapons that you use your primary attacks with most and apply them to that. So for instance, I like to do veil attacks with my spear. So I'm definitely going to be putting a coating on my spear. That one's actually super important to decide on. And you kind of, what I would do with this is kind of decide what your veil is or what your other things are to decide which coating you're using there. Another good thing to put it on would be like your pistols, your crossbow, whatever, whip, whatever you're going to be attacking with a lot, you want to have a coating on. So coatings in general, really quickly, these things are insanely powerful. So even if they did not do bonus damage of any kind and it was just the effect, these things would still be extremely powerful. And the reason for that is before the 1.1 patch, there was no way to apply a status effect to someone without using an infused ability like a blue or purple or legendary like Siren's Wail Q, which applies weaken. There was no way to get weaken on someone other than doing that or running a specific spell. Now I can just slap an illusion coating on my crossbow and shoot them, and suddenly it does a little AoE of weaken, amongst other things. That is extremely strong and honestly pretty much like kind of meta changing or game changing for the entire game and combat of V-Rising, because this makes it so this enables so many combos that otherwise you could never do. For example, a really strong combo with Siren's Wail, what used to be using a weaken infused greatsword or whatever weapon you want to do, you would then hit them with the weaken like this on the Q, and then you would swap the Siren's Wail and press E. Well, now you don't even have to do that. You could just use a weaken coating on your Siren's Wail, poke them, and now they have weaken, and then I can do the fear that way. Very, very, very strong. And the same thing applies to almost every single one of these coatings. Every single one of these coatings has some kind of interaction with, except for Unholy, has some kind of interaction with something else to give you additional bonuses or benefits or effects that you can take advantage of, because you can simply just shoot the enemy and get a bonus. Go ahead and start breaking those down. So to start off, let's go over the blood coating. Blood coating does apply. So, okay, another thing to keep in mind for all of these coatings, regardless of what it says here, or if it's somewhat kind of confusing, every single one of these coatings applies its elemental effect on hits. So like, for instance, storm coating doesn't actually say applies static, but chain lightning procs on the enemy you hit. So they all have static on them now, including the one that you hit. So very important to keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and start with the blood coating here. So blood applies leech and vampiric curse, which deals 40% magic damage after 2 seconds, spawning a blood orb. You saw this happening. He has leech on him, and here's a blood orb. This blood orb heals for 4% of your maximum HP, but is different from regular blood orb that you get from bosses in that it does not overheal your gray bar. This is very important, because if it did, that would be insane. So we are glad that it doesn't. So blood coating in general is very strong here. One thing that's really good is that it actually enables a crucial thing it enables, or cool thing it enables anyway, is Veil of Blood. Has a jewel. Hitting an enemy afflicted by a leech increases your physical damage output by 16% for 4 seconds. So you can hit someone with this and dash, and suddenly I have this empower buff. Pretty cool. But the most important thing that this does, or that this enables, is it gives you a way to take advantage of the Sanguine Mastery ability, which increases physical damage by 8% to enemies afflicted by a leech. So if you use this on somebody and then you spear Q them, you're going to do bonus physical damage to them because they have that leech applied. Next, let's go ahead and go over the Unholy Coating here. This one here is honestly, actually, sorry, let's go Chaos Coating first. Let's go Chaos Coating. So Chaos Coating is okay, sorry, let's finish up on blood coating really quick. Blood coating overall is a very strong coating. If you are going to run bonus max HP and bonus healing received, this one's actually really good to run if you plan on picking up those orbs, because it just gives you 4% max HP is a lot. And if you have a ton of max HP and you have increased healing, that number just keeps going up. I've seen this thing heal for, I think, like 80 HP or more, which is pretty crazy amounts of HP to heal with. Okay, sorry. Let's go ahead and skip over to Chaos Coating. Chaos Coating, 50% magic damage and triggers a Chaos Explosion. This one is easily one of the best in the game. You can see that damage there. It crit right here because the Chaos Explosion is a magic effect, and if you have spell crit, it can crit. So this guy over here just took a critical hit. Right there, he took that one this time. And not only are they taking the magic damage in an AoE, 50% magic damage in AoE, but they're also getting Ignite. That is incredibly powerful because of many reasons, one of which is this effect that is on some of the Chaos Schools. Hitting an enemy afflicted by Ignite engulfs them in agonizing flames, dealing 6% damage and healing 12% of your spell power 5 times. So what that is 30% magic damage and 60% heal over the course of the agonizing flames, which is crazy because the target can also have just regular Ignite on them at the same time. So if I go like this, and I use my Veil attack, you can see he has agonizing flames, and he's also just regular Ignite is going on him as well. That is tons of damage, especially whenever considering things like Chaos Kindling, which increases the magic damage, or the damage dealt by Ignites, and Renewing Flames, which increases spell power to enemies inflicted by Ignite and heals you for 25% of your spell power. So altogether, this is a great way to take advantage of both of those things. Extremely powerful. Even if you're not running either of those passives, this is still going to be really good. And if you're not sure what to put on your weapon, you could probably just slap on Chaos Coating and you won't really go wrong. All right, next we're going to talk about Unholy Coating. This one is interesting. So the thing about Unholy is, like, I want to say it's not that good, but it actually is just going to be good regardless because Condemn is such a powerful effect. Don't know what Condemn does. Increases all damage dealt to your target by 15%. All damage, physical and spell or magic damage. by 15% for 5 seconds from your allies, etc. So that is always going to be good, even though Unholy doesn't have, or Condemned does not have, another interaction with Unholy. Its specific interaction is if you kill the enemy who's infected by Unholy, it will summon a skeleton. Now, there are ways to take advantage of that. If you have something like this jewel here, you see at the very top, or let's see, the second one here, hitting an ally or ally skeleton can cause it to explode. It's a Skelly Bomb jewel. So if you have something like that, that can be really nice. And I will say this coating is absolutely absurd for mobbing, like out in the world PvE. This thing's ridiculous. Just you can get so many skeletons so fast with this and just chain them into other skeletons. So that is absolutely incredible. There's also something to be said if like the enemy is running a skeleton build and you pop them with Condemn coating, you can kind of steal their skeletons if you go through and kill them all, which I've done before. It's kind of curious. But overall, this one's like, if you want to put this on there, I will say one really good way to combine this, one thing to combine this with is something like a Thousand Storms or a Static Spear, because you can apply Unholy and then spear Q them just for tons of damage, even if you're on a spell build. All right, so the next thing we're gonna go over here is the Illusion Coating. This one is incredibly powerful as well, mostly because overall Illusion is just really, Weaken is really nice. So it's an AoE 30% magic damage. So all these guys, 30% is kind of low, but it's an AoE, but they all also get Weaken. Weaken reduces the damage they deal by 15% for 5 seconds, which is really good. Just nerfing the enemy is pretty good. And then 33% chance to gain Phantasm whenever a weakened target perishes. So that's like a mobbing thing, but it is really nice. The reason this is so good is like not only is it doing that AoE of Weaken, which we already talked about is pretty solid, but it also grants 4 stacks of Phantasm immediately, which that means that is 4% spell cooldown, and you get spell charge rate for that as well. And this now with the spell mastery system can go up to 12 stacks total. So we're now at 8, which is 8% spell charge and spell cooldown. And then the next time it'll be at the max. So having an ability or having a means to generate Phantasm like that and Weaken and everything is just so strong. And as we mentioned with the with Siren's Wail here, the reason that's so good as well is it gives you the ability to have a single enabled left click and then the fear off of that, which is really strong, or even something like Wraith Blades, which massively benefits with Weaken with Phantasm stacks. And one final thing about the Illusion Coating that's really, really good is the passive Spiritual Infusion. This gives you a means of applying Weaken to enemies with nothing else, no other spells, that increases the spell damage they take by 8%. So you can see how we're stacking things up with Sanguine Mastery, Renewing Flames, and Spiritual Infusion. Okay, so the next one we're going to go over is the Frost Coating. Now, this one in general, I would say is arguably the best in the game. There's obviously other interactions that are really strong. There are things that are really, really powerful, like Chaos Coating or applying Static or applying... All these things are really good, but the Frost Coating overall, to me, is just enables so many crazy things. It's kind of ridiculous. So what it does is it does a Frost Nova in an area, so everything here applies or it receives chill 30% magic damage. The reason this is so powerful is probably obvious if you've played this game and used a chill or frost school spell even one time. A lot of these spells have things or ways to essentially consume chill to freeze. And so instead of having to use something like a Veil of Frost first and then hit them with a Frostbat, or something like Frost Barrier that has a jewel that can consume chill to freeze, things like that. Instead of doing that, this just gives you a way to poke them, get chill on them, and then get freeze. And freeze them like this, right? It just makes it so easy to do, to constantly have chill going. There it is again. And there's some more. You can see we are just getting so much chill from all of this. Things are just constantly frozen. More chill, why not? So very, 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 very powerful. Enables so many different combos. And even if you decide to not run any chill spells whatsoever, you can still run Veil of Frost with the ability that says consumes chill and inflicts freeze with this ability, because you can do stuff like have chill on your pistol and do stuff like this. Oh, he's got chill. Let me veil in and freeze him. And then you can hit him with whatever combos you want to do. Very, very, very strong. So overall, chill, if you are, so in this situation, if you don't have a veil that you feel like you have to run specifically for the build you're running, like if it doesn't really matter to you, honestly, slap a chill coating on something and run Veil of Frost, because already Veil of Frost is really strong by giving yourself a shield, but enabling the freeze specifically is just absolutely insane. And finally, on top of everything we just said, it also, chill coating also enables, and like freezes and stuff, also enable two of the strongest passives in the entire game, Cold Soul and Chill Weave. Cold Soul, spell crit, really nice, or spell crit damage is really nice, and deal 8% increased damage to chilled and frozen enemies. That is all types of damage, not just magic damage. So if you hit him with this, your Spear Q is doing bonus physical damage as well, which is just so strong. And then Chill Weave, breaking freeze with a damaging attack, triggers a Frost Nova, dealing 40% magic damage and inflicting chill again. This is why you can do crazy things with stuff like Frost Bats or Ice Novas, where you apply chill, and then you freeze them, and then I hit them with a Frost Bat. It does a detonation and AoE, hits them again, Veil attack. It's going to do another detonation, more freeze, more chill. You can just see the damage we're doing here is absolutely absurd. Overall, Frost Coating is just absolutely cracked. And finally, we have Storm Coating. This one is very strong as well, especially for physical builds, simply because Chain Lightning in general is really nice, obviously. Jumping to everything here and applying static to everything is super good. But static is really good on physical builds because you want to hit them, you want to shoot them a lot, or whatever it may be. Spear Q them, whatever it is. Dagger, hit them with Dagger Q, right? All these things you want to do. And whenever you do those, if they have static, it will trigger 10% of your magic damage from a shock effect every single time they are hit by those physical attacks. So if you have static like this, and you go like this with your daggers, and then this, they're getting static every single time they're getting static procs. Because yes, you can have multiple status effects on an enemy at a single time. So this also enables things. There's a Veil of Storm jewel that you can use that consume, and also other things like on Cyclone here that says consumes static to stun. So for instance, you can do something like this and then throw this out and it would stun him. It would consume that static to stun. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend using Cyclone. This thing is weak, but specifically the one for Veil of Storm that Veil of Storm has is really good, where you can apply this from long range and then you can veil in, attack them, and stun them. That's really strong. Let's go ahead and show how powerful all of these things are if we combine a bunch of things all at once. So what we're going to do, let me just show you just the power of coatings here and the power of all these passives, all these different passives that we have here. I just need you to understand just how much power these things enable, these different effects and passives and the coatings enable. So we have one coating right now, Unholy Coating. Then we have a bunch of different spell effects and a bunch of different passives. I am on a Pastra build with, I have a few physical things, like just a little bit of crit chance, barely any weapon skill power. A little bit of physical crit power. But we have all those passives working together. I just want to showcase how much damage this is. All right, so let's go ahead and use every single one of our things combined with our passives to do every single effect all at once. So here we go. So you probably saw a billion gigantic numbers fly all over the place, and keep in mind that is with non-physical stats. Absolutely insane. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. That's gonna be it for now, guys. If you have any questions about coding, feel free to leave them in the comments below. But until next time, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you in the next one.